Shadowlands ended over half a year ago, and now is a fair time to reflect. Was it a good expansion or a bad expansion? We will hear from each side of the argument for the final judgment of Shadowlands. Shadowlands was good. After the disaster of BFA, a palette cleanser was needed, and 9.0 did that. Shadowlands got rid of the infinitely grindable source of borrowed power, and added a readily available resource for cosmetics. It added 4 new, beautiful, well-designed leveling zones that took you through the story of the Realm of Death, each with a unique covenant and appearance. Those 4 new covenants allowed for an incredible variety of player choice in gameplay, cosmetics, and more. Each covenant had its own mounts, armor, and activities, as well as every class had their own unique ability, with each covenant giving a player 4 different flavors of gameplay for each class's specialization, which is a massive improvement over the Heart of Azeroth. The mission tables were perfected in Shadowlands. They were both completely ignorable and optional because they were not tied in any way to player power, and they provided meaningful rewards for those who wanted to do them. Torghast was an amazing feature that was not given enough credit for its fun, roguelike gameplay. Having a roguelike in WoW let players have fun with multiple viable changing builds for many runs. Torghast was a great vehicle to obtain legendary gear components, pacing the progress of players so they would not get too powerful too quickly. With its weekly time gate, players felt a steady growing pace of progression so they would feel more powerful over a longer period of time. And then in 9.1, Torghast was perfected. With its revised rating system and introduction of new legendary materials for more powerful gear, Torghast was better than ever. Legendary gear was perfected in Shadowlands, making professions relevant and tied to power progression for the first time in almost over a decade. Obtaining the legendary effects was easy and provided unique twists to every player's rotation depending on which unique legendary power they chose. The story in Shadowlands was brilliant. People love to hate it, but they do not understand the interconnected and powerful story of Sylvanas Windrunner. Shadowlands tied up her final arc that started in Legion with a perfect ending that redeemed her character by having her make her own choices for the good of the universe and condemned her for the horrendous crimes she has committed. The Jailer was also a great villain, shown to be powerful and evil but not without a purpose. As the Jailer said, the cosmos divided cannot stand against an unknown force, a good mission that he tried to accomplish through questionable means. The Maw was exactly what a max level zone should be, challenging and deadly. No mounts and powerful elites made each trek into the Maw arduous and difficult. Why would you want the max level zone to be a cakewalk and easy to navigate? It should be hard. Patch 9.1 added on to the Maw with Korthia, a small yet fun zone that matched its own aesthetic while providing new challenges and systems into the game. The rotating assaults every couple days are a fun addition to the Maw, showcasing the story of the Shadowlands with the Covenants coming together to defeat the Jailer. Patch 9.2, the best patch of Shadowlands and one of the best patches in World of Warcraft history. Zereth Mortis was perfect in every single way. Constant world bosses and a variety of fun world quests that all gave Cosmic Flux, the newest legendary component. Plus, the free second legendary made every player more powerful with only a small amount of time needed to acquire it. Then there was the Creation Catalyst and the return of tier sets. After 3 long years, Shadowlands finally fixed one of the many mistakes of the Battle for Azeroth by giving us back tier sets. The Creation Catalyst allowed any eligible piece of gear to be turned into its tier set equivalent for a minimal cost every single week. Shadowlands repaired or changed the system set by Legion and BFA and led to the growth of future expansions like Dragonflight, and for that, it is a good expansion. Shadowlands was terrible. WoW has never had 2 bad expansions in a row until BFA and Shadowlands. While Shadowlands wasn't the complete dumpster fire that the Battle for Azeroth was, it still had a lot of issues that made it a slog to play. There was no infinite grindable power source, but there was still a lot of borrowed power with legendaries, covenant abilities, and soulbinds. Covenants were advertised by Blizzard over and over and over again as increased player choice in the game by adding special abilities and buffs that changed how players viewed their classes. And it did change how players viewed their classes by taking away their agency. There is no player choice when certain covenants have more powerful abilities and passives than others. Sure, players could choose to make themselves less powerful for aesthetic or lore reasons, but most players care about being competitive. And for each class, there's only 1 or 2 choices on which covenants were the strongest. Nothing was balanced throughout the Shadowlands lifecycle. Specializations within a class varied wildly in performance because there's no way to balance every spec with every covenant against each other. During Shadowlands, there were 13 classes, with 39 specs in total and 4 covenants, each with their own class ability. That means each spec had 4 different sub-specs that radically changed playstyle and power depending on which covenant you chose. And don't forget that each covenant also had 3 sub-specializations with 3 unique soulbinds. You have 39 classes, times 4 covenant class abilities, times 3 soulbinds. That's 468 classes, plus legendaries that interacted differently for each class. How the hell is that supposed to be balanced? Then there's Torghast, Tower of the Damned, and it was a fitting name because I felt damned every time I had to step foot in it. A roguelike in WoW is a good idea, on paper. In reality, it was a tedious, unbalanced mess, where some classes had a much easier time than others. If you failed, the hour or more that you just spent was completely wasted and you just start the layer all over again. And even if you didn't like Torghast, you still had to do it, because it gave you the material for creating and upgrading your legendaries in both 9.0 and 9.1 on a weekly time gate. If a system is directly tied to advancing player power with no alternative, it's not a choice. Torghast was not a choice, it was a chore. It's the developers making players complete an activity that got old very quickly. Mandatory fun is not fun. Sylvanas. Supposedly she had master plans, layers within layers, playing 5D chess. In that cinematic, she said,
"And I will set us all free."
Does anybody, including the writers, know what that means? Did the writers even know what her plans or motivation were for the past 6 years? Why did she do what she did? Why did she agree to work for the jailer? And why did she care about Anduin? After 9.1, she instantly became good because she fired an arrow at the jailer with one of the stupidest lines ever.
"I will never serve."
Speaking of the jailer, what a lame duck of a villain. He should have been the WoW equivalent of Thanos. He thought he was the hero of the universe, saving it from those who he deemed a threat to the safety of the Shadowlands with immoral actions. For him, the ends justified the means. Instead, we got an evil robot who is evil because he's evil, and that means he's evil. There is a plot twist though. When he dies and becomes a robot, he says,
"A cosmos divided will not survive."
So he was actually a good person, don't you see? Just without any setup, or proper writing, or anything alluding to it. The Maw was a terrible max level zone. No mounts for the longest time, annoying debuffs, and more mandatory fun every week with weekly quests from your covenant. There is nothing redeeming or fun about the Maw. A good max level zone is the Timeless Isle from Mists of Pandaria, or the Isle of Quel'Danas from the Burning Crusade. Then we get to 9.1, Chains of Domination, one of the worst patches in WoW history. Adding a new zone onto the Maw, which no one wanted, that is nothing but grindy, buggy, with lame world quests and boring activities. 9.1 also added rotating assaults to the Maw. What fun for the 3rd expansion in a row. Assaults have not been innovated on since Legion, except this time it's in a super annoying zone that nobody wants to go to. There should have been a patch between Chains of Domination and Eternity's End, but instead of 3 major patches like is the expectation for WoW since Burning Crusade, we only had 2 major patches, putting Shadowlands in unique company with the only other expansion that is missing an entire raid tier, Warlords of Draenor. 9.2 admittedly was the best patch in Shadowlands and had a lot of welcome changes. A well-designed zone, tier sets, legendary materials that didn't make you want to take a hammer to your computer, but it was too little too late. Why did it take so long to bring back tier sets? Why did it take so long to have legendary materials not be a nightmare to grind? Why did it take so long to have a max level zone that was fun? Shadowlands could have been the expansion to fix the disasters of BFA and revitalize the player base, bringing back everyone who left during the Battle for Azeroth, but it ended up just being 2 years of wasted opportunity. You've heard the arguments, now you decide, was Shadowlands a good expansion or a bad expansion? Thank you for watching. Comment what you think of Shadowlands. Was it good? Was it bad? Was it okay? Give this video a like if you liked it, give it a dislike if you disliked it, and I will see you soon.